this evening. This text amendment has to do with accessory uses to agriculture, specifically more than 12 times per year, then such structures and buildings shall comply with the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code, and site plan and special exception approval shall be required pursuant to section 3-309.14, .15, and .16 of the zoning ordinance. The sale of incidental farm-related promotional items, that's E. F, the combined percentage of annual farm sales revenue from the activities described in sections C, D, and E above shall not exceed 50%. Basically what this is saying is that for sales, 50% of the sales from the property need to become from agricultural or value-added agricultural products produced on the property. G, private personal gatherings held by the owner of an agriculturally used property who resides on the property adjacent thereto that is owned or controlled by such owner, at which gatherings products are not sold or marketed, and for which no consideration is received by the owner or its agents, except that fundraisers shall be subject to general requirements set forth in 6-102.29 of this ordinance. Basically, personal gatherings, the owner of the property can have a limited amount of personal gatherings. They're not regulated by the zoning ordinance. This standard is specifically just outlining the fact that the zoning ordinance does not regulate those activities except for fundraisers that are held on the property that are regulated under the accessory uses, specifically that have specific limitations. Like you can have no more than 2 a year, no more than 1,000 people in attendance. There are about 8 other standards that are involved in that. And lastly, notwithstanding the above, if an accessory use permitted by this section is separately listed as a primary use in section 3-300 of the zoning ordinance, the standards found in section 3-300 shall govern such use. This section is important to understand this section because the use is specifically defined as a primary use in Article 3 of the zoning ordinance. Article 3 mainly consists of a chart with all the zoning districts and all the uses that are allowed within those zoning districts as primary uses. If a use is in that chart, then what is found in that chart governs. The accessory uses that are outlined in this section do not. And I think it is important to understand that such things as a sawmill are regulated by what's found in Article 3-300, not as an accessory use. An abattoir would be regulated as a primary use and only permitted in industrial zoning districts. You could not do that as an accessory use to agriculture the way this amendment is currently configured. I think that makes that clear. Along with those standards are 4 definitions. I will name them. I will not read through them. They are the definition for value-added agricultural products, which was taken and expounded upon from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. From their definition, it was just expounded on with lists of types of products and does include similar type products at the end. So it is not all inclusive. It does allow other things that are not contained in that list. Agricultural related activities are defined and does not include similar other types of events. So it is an inclusive list. It only contains those 7 uses there that are allowed as accessory to agriculture. And then incidental farm related promotional items and annual farm sales revenue are also defined. Try to go through that as quickly as I could, thoroughly as I could, I guess, and I'm sure there'll be questions, and I will try to answer them as best I can.
I actually had one, Mr. Floyd. In D, was the word farm supposed to be replaced with word property?
Yeah, I was working on that as I was reading through. Did you see that?
Yeah,
I saw
that's
you. I saw you.
Hey, I changed it everywhere else.
I saw you
So,
calls.
Right.
yes,
Thank you.
it should be changed to property, so that I call that a scrivener's error.
Thank you.
Does
as I'm the
anybody have
scrivener.
any other questions of staff at this time?
I think it is important to note that if you had gotten this online when we first published this part that he just read is different than what you would have gotten online. This just came out basically, did you resend it out yesterday?
It was yesterday, late yesterday afternoon when this revision was made. The one that was online was substantially somewhat different.
Yes.
But the primary difference really, in my view, is that this is more clear. The substance of it is not.
The substance actually isn't actually different. When originally writing the text of the ordinance, myself and the zoning administrator had some conversation. She had sent an email to numerous interested parties that stated that she didn't think part of it was clear on whether or not, because the ordinance within Article 2 has a standard that says if something's defined more than one time in the ordinance, then the time where it's more specific, the place where it's more specifically defined shall be the governing criteria for that use. And it was her opinion that since abattoirs and sawmills were specifically defined as primary uses within this ordinance, that they couldn't be accessory within here because they're more specifically defined in Article 3-300. So to clarify her stance and her opinion and what would have been her interpretation had she been asked to make that interpretation, Section H was added just to make it clear so there wouldn't be any interpretation issue.
There's a little bit of the language just cleaned up to make
Yes,
it more
ma'am.
clear. All right, any other questions of staff? All right, with that, I'd like to open the public hearing on this item. And please, if somebody before you has already said what you plan on saying, please either add to it or just stay in your seat. Anybody wishing to speak to this can?
There you go.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Gilchrist. I am 8 years old and in 3rd grade. I think birthday parties should be legal, and I can't understand why our county would restrict such parties. Thank you.